Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 358, and today's date is May 5th, 2014, and the title of this episode is NATO Strategically Moving Assets in Preparation for War. What are we seeing right now? Well, we see NATO bringing in more and more troops, bringing in more military assets. They're having drills in the Black Sea, along the borders of Russia, and in Europe. They're all preparing for what is going to happen here. They are trying to provoke Russia the best they can. They have Ukrainian forces. Most of them are not Ukrainian military. They are most likely paid mercenaries, pushing and intensifying the anti-terrorism campaigns against the Ukrainian people. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the building on fire, people being shot. It is completely outrageous, horrific, and uncalled for. These people want the same thing as the opposition wanted going back a month or two. They want to secede from the government. They want democracy, they want freedom, they want the ability to vote. But the new puppet government will not allow this to happen. And this is what we are seeing right now. The central bankers, the IMF is saying to Ukraine, if you want this money, you better control these regions. And if you can't, we will have to change the deal and change the amount of money that you're going to receive. So right now, the bankers are calling the shot. The United States is calling the shot, along with the CIA, FBI, who are in control of the entire operation at this time. And they will not retreat. They will push forward. They will use more and more tactics. They are trying to provoke Russia until Putin actually does something. And this is their entire plan. And you can see the people in these areas are fighting back. They are not going to take it, but they are using underhanded tactics against the people, and it's getting more and more difficult for them to continually push the armed forces and the paid mercenaries that are intertwined with Ukrainian military at this time. Let's get into the economic collapse news, and we'll discuss further later in this report what is going on in Ukraine. Now, we understand the job numbers came out. I discussed it on Saturday, and I went a little deeper into it. And now we're getting the market report. And what this is saying is that the job creation slipped to a 13-month low. The surveys are also signaling an easing in the rate of job creation since the start of this year. Now, we understand this, that the jobs that we had, those high-paying corporate jobs, are completely disappearing, and what's replacing them is low-wage jobs. We are seeing this. And this unemployment number that they keep telling us is 6.3. People are working. Well, these are all in the low-paid sector jobs. These are people who have 1 or 2 or 3 part-time jobs, and we are seeing that many people don't even have work at this time. And every single piece of economic data that comes out of the government and the Fed is manipulated, it's falsified, and they're doing this completely on purpose to make everyone believe we are in this economic recovery. And they need the Americans to believe that we are in this recovery, because when this event occurs, they will need to say another country caused this economic collapse. This is why we are suffering. We're going to have to suffer a little bit more because we're going to have to go to war. You're going to have to make sacrifices because of this. And this would have nothing to do with the event that occurred. This was happening all along, and this is what we've been showing all this time. And they will try to make everyone and they will try to convince everyone that this was all caused by this special event that they're creating at this time. We're also seeing that global manufacturing is tumbling to its lowest level since October 2013. April is the fastest 2-month drop in almost 2 years. So it is not getting better. Now, of course, they're out there saying, yes, it's great, oh my God, jobs are being created, the economy is recovering, look at the stock market, everything is fantastic, but we know it's not. It's impossible. And what we're looking at is, if we go deeper into the unemployment numbers, let's just take a look at this for a second. In April, 118.4 million Americans had a full-time job, the most since 2008. In April, 9.8 million Americans were unemployed. 92 million people were out of the labor force, and 27.3 million people had part-time jobs. This is a total of 129.1 million out of work or underemployed. This number is larger than the number that is that has full-time work. So we have a huge problem here, and it is not getting better. And if we look at the housing market, we get it. I report on this over and over and over. The housing market is doomed. It is going to pop just like everything else. We saw signs of this going back to August of 23rd, when the big mortgage companies started laying off tens of thousands of people. This is a signal. When real estate is booming and more people are buying houses, mortgage departments expand. They do not contract. So right now, we know what is going on. We see it. We feel it. Now, all of a sudden, Jeff Gundlach came out, and he is the bond god and the CEO of Double Line Capital, and now he is bearish on homes. He went on to say, we seem to be on the cusp of something of a change with existing home sales now. Negative, he said. He pointed out that the new home sales are falling. He doesn't see home ownership rates rebounding anytime soon. Really? We understand this. Mortgage originations are down 66%. We saw the profits from mortgage originations from every single one of the big banks have dropped 60 to almost 70%. This tells you the American people don't have the money to go out and finance a home. They can't do it. The credit is ruined. They have no money in the bank. They don't have a job. They don't have the disposable income to do any of this. This is why the housing market will never recover. It is totally impossible. Yes, we are seeing in different regions it's reaching the top of the bubble, and I know people have been emailing me saying, I see no problems here, and other people are saying, yes, it is dead here, prices are falling. Every single area does not feel it the same way, but eventually all areas will. Just like in 2008. I've said this story many times, but I'll repeat it. I was in New York selling my home, and the real estate market came to a screeching halt, dead. I had a sister-in-law in Florida. When I called her, she's a realtor, she had no idea what I was talking about because it was completely booming in Florida. It was fantastic. She couldn't believe how many homes and condos and townhouses she was selling. It was unbelievable. New York couldn't get anyone to come and take a look at the house. Continually lowering the price, nobody coming. Didn't make sense. Realtors up there were going for help to try to understand what was going on. They had no clue. And then all of a sudden, 6 to 8 months later, in Florida, everything came to a screeching halt, and it was 10 times worse than it was in New York. So for those people who don't think it's going to hit your area, it will. All the signs are telling us that real estate is about to pop, and it's going to come down hard. You think 2008 was hard? Wait until you feel this drop. The other one's going to look like a nice little bouncy ball compared to the way this boulder is going to hit the pavement. Now we see another banker was found. His name was Andrew Jarzik of Hoboken, and it looks like he was in the Hudson River. He died. He was 27 years old. So this is another banker that slipped, fell into the river, and he committed suicide. No, most likely he was pushed or killed for something that he might have known. Now, I talk about Obamacare quite a bit, and what we are seeing right now is that Obamacare, and if you haven't heard me say this before, you can go back to my other reports, is not for the people. It is a cash grab. Taxes are intertwined into Obamacare. It does not benefit the American people whatsoever. It does not help you with your health insurance. It does nothing like that whatsoever. And right now, public opposition to Obamacare is at its highest ever. Right now, there's about 55% of Americans now disapprove of the health care law, and it is up from 54% in December of 2013. So every single month now we're seeing that more and more people are catching on, and they're realizing that premiums are high, I get no benefit, I have to pay taxes on this health insurance, and this is a completely not for the American people, and we need to get rid of this. This goes along with Common Core. Now, I put on the X22Report.com site a video about Dr. Duke Pesta. He was explaining Common Core, and he makes incredible, fantastic points about Common Core. And it's about 2 hours. If you haven't seen it, just come to the home page, scroll down a little bit to this episode, click on the episode, and you'll see the video. You might have to scroll down a little bit and see the video. But he goes on to say that this whole program was developed to indoctrinate the children of America to think like the government, to think in a box and never think outside the box. The children will not become creative. They will not become thinkers. They will not have the ability to innovate. They will become slaves. They will become workers. They will only understand math, English, history up to a certain point. They are being developed to understand that everyone is the same. There are no high achievers. There are no low achievers. Everyone is the same. And we might as well just put our children in gray uniforms, have them sit there, and if your child is in a class with Common Core, as this gets into more and more schools, and let's say your child is advanced in math, they will not allow to be put into any type of advanced math because it will not exist. Everyone has to stay on the same level. And this is being done to make everyone good workers. And a lot of little literature, a lot of the understanding about math, science, and everything else is being stripped away. History is being rewritten. The texts that they're reading are being controlled by a foundation headed up by Bill Gates. Of course, his children are not going to a public school for Common Core. They go to a private school called Lakeside, and in that school, they do not teach Common Core. Why? Because they're advanced. They're above the everyday child. And if you ever notice, the government officials, the very wealthy, always try to push this crap on the everyday person. But when you look at their lives, they're not using this crap because they realize and they know that it's crap that they're pushing on you, and they don't want it. Why do I want to dumb down my own children? No, that's not how it is. Why would I want Obamacare? This is junk. The same thing's happening in Common Core, and what we are seeing right now is more and more school districts, states are waking up going, what just happened here? And most of them are stuck because they accepted money from the Race to the Top program back in 2009 with the caveat, if you take this money, you will have to use the Common Core standards. They weren't even written back then, and most of the states said, okay, I will take the money and I will go with the Common Core. And they didn't even have any idea what they were about. And this whole thing was planned from the beginning. And this is not for the American people in a good way. It is to dumb them down, to have them become children in school then go directly to work in factories, to work in many other places, and it will remove all creativity, all the ability to inspire others. Everyone is the same, and you will be the same. And this is what they are doing in our schools. A lot of the states are waking up right now. New York is saying, whoa, we don't want this Common Core in here whatsoever. Mathematicians have been testifying, English professors have been testifying that if the students go through this Common Core, it will put them 4 years behind where they're behind already. So this is not good. And some states have already taken the Common Core standard tests, and the scores dropped and plummeted. And all the states went, whoa, what just happened here? The whole entire program is meant to dumb down every single child. Okay, now John McCain is out there. We understand the NSA is spying on every single person. It's completely a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They really don't care. Actually, they don't even care about the rights anymore of the people, and I'm talking about the government. They're just doing whatever they want right now. And Senator John McCain is out there saying that the NSA spying is part of the world we live in today, and we just have to accept it. Who cares if they're spying on you? Well, we do care. And, you know, he went on to say that young Americans are bothered by the NSA spying because their memories of 9/11 attacks are starting to fade. No. People don't want to be spied on because the right of privacy is in our right. He didn't even mention any of the rights. He just mentioned that, oh, remember that terrorist attack in 9/11? That's fading, so we might have to have another one to refresh everyone of why we need to spy on you. You do not need to spy on every single American person. If we really dissect what happened with all these terrorist attacks, we will find out that you created these to scare the American people into letting you take away our rights. This is your agenda, and you're continually doing this. And McCain tried to dismiss the poll that showed that 53% of Americans believe that their phone calls are being recorded, and he's saying that, no, we're not recording your phone calls or email. That's ridiculous. And we know that this is completely BS at this time. Okay, now in Virginia, what they're trying to do in Fairfax, their aim is to downsize home assemblies. Sounds familiar if we go back to the Revolution, huh? A plan to ban frequent and large gatherings at neighborhood homes. And what they're trying to do is they don't want large groups of people getting together and talking about things. So they want to remove and place a law in effect where it allows them, to say that you cannot have a large group in one location. You know, because they've been getting complaints, at least 6 in 1 year, that there was big parties going on. And right now, Supervisor Pat Harity said in a statement, I believe the county is risking a lawsuit and or a constitution challenge by interfering with the people's right to assemble. Every single person has the right to get together in a group and talk about issues with free speech. And what they want to do is they want to put a zoning ordinance that says such gatherings shall not occur more frequently than 3 times in any 40-day period. So you can see what they are trying to do. They are trying to remove everyone's rights to get together and talk about things. Now in Austin, they just received a new Bearcat armored vehicle. They're going to use this for hostage situations in Austin. And of course, they're asking them questions. How many hostage situations do you have? And of course, they're out there saying barely any. But this is why we actually purchased it. No, you purchased it because you're in compliance with DHS. You have to have these tank systems because when the economic collapse comes, you need to maintain control of your area. And if you want more money, you will be in compliance. Now, out in the Philippines, we understand that the United States central bankers have made a deal with the Philippines to use at least 5 of their bases, and right now they are having a drill. 5,000 American Filipino servicemen are participating in an annual military exercise that begins today. It is aimed at further development of Philippines Army Forces' potentials in planning their actions in critical situations, advancing their abilities in combating terrorism, and improving cooperation with the U.S. Armed Forces. And of course, they always have to bring in terrorism. They always use the terms national security. And this is all being done because they are encircling China. They are getting prepared. They are training in this area. And this is why they wanted those bases in Philippines. Now, on Saturday, I mentioned that Ukraine was banning Russian flights into Donetsk and Kharkov, and it was supposed to be lifted May 5th, but guess what happened? They extended the ban indefinitely at this time, so no flights from Russia are allowed in Ukraine at this time. And of course, people can't travel, they can't get in or out, and this is being done on purpose to isolate Ukraine from outside forces, so the anti-terrorism, the horrific crimes they're doing to the people can continue in that country. Now, U.S. Norway inspectors are going to fly over Russia, according to the Open Air Treaty. A joint mission of Norway and the United States will make an observation flight over Russia on May 5th through the 8th under the Treaty of Open Skies. During the flight, on the coordinated route, Russian specialists on board a Romanian observation airplane will be controlling strict observation of coordinated parameters of the flight and use of monitoring equipment under the Treaty of the Open Sky. So they're going to take a look to see if there are troop buildups like they've been talking about, which there are none, and they're going to see, but of course the corporate media will tell you that yes, there's still troops, that Russia's still involved, and they'll keep the propaganda up to make it look like Russia is invading. They're the ones who are doing all this. The anti-terrorism forces, the secret assault teams in Kiev have nothing to do with this. They're not doing it. They only have helicopters, snipers, dogs, military men, APCs, tanks, all in the region, fighting against people who have sticks, a rifle, and who are making Molotov cocktails. This is what they're trying to convince you, that these people are terrorists, and we can see right now that all of this is being driven by the acting government in Ukraine, the CIA, United States central bankers. Now, Donetsk right now is building their 1st Regiment of Republican Army that will unite all the self-defense forces, and 1,000 people have already subscribed as volunteers. A decision to form a regiment, Donetsk Regiment, has been taken, and the Speaker of the People's Republic ordered it to go forward, and they're going to start issuing gun licenses to all these people so they can carry guns in this region. Now, Senator Johnson is out there, and he's saying, you know what? These Russian sanctions aren't working. Well, of course they're not working. These Russian sanctions are being placed on individuals and corporations. Most of these Russian officials have already taken their wealth out of the Western world, so they're not going to work. And right now, Senator Ron Johnson says U.S. sanctions are not working, and we need more lethal force in Ukraine. It is really getting out of control, Johnson said, and he's saying that we need to bring in military assets to control the situation, almost like Syria, where they are saying that they are not involved in anything, and then all of a sudden it turns out that yes, all along, United States, the central bankers, have been providing weapons through alternate channels, but now they're just doing it out in the open, and they've been supporting and paying for all of these paid mercenaries. Now, China is going to help Russia build a transport corridor to Crimea. Chinese companies will soon take part in the construction of a transport corridor to the Crimea through the Kerch Strait, and what they're going to do is create a state-owned China railway construction to connect these, and it's going to cost about $3 billion at this time. Now, as we know, in Ukraine, CIA, FBI agents are in Kiev and they are completely advising the acting Ukraine government. Dozens of specialists from the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency and Federal Bureau of Investigation are advising the Ukraine government, a German newspaper reported Sunday. And what they're saying is they stay in the city of Kiev. They really don't move out of there. They're coordinating everything from that location, letting everyone know what to do. And like I said in my other reports, I wouldn't be surprised if other paid mercenaries are going to be brought into Ukraine. And what we're seeing right now is that Saudi Arabia are relocating Takfiri fighters from Syria to Ukraine. A large number of paid mercenaries are moving in to Ukraine. They've been transferred to Ukraine, the capital city, into the capital city of Kiev on several planes to help the Ukrainian army in its fight against the pro-Russian population. On Sunday, they all were arriving, and more are coming in. So we can see what is happening. They have Blackwater already in Ukraine. Paid mercenaries are starting to filter into Ukraine, and we are seeing all of this happen just like in Syria. They are going to build up the civil war in Ukraine, and they want Russia to get involved. And this is why NATO has been moving all their military assets, holding these drills, and continually doing this. Now we see in the corporate media, and they keep going on and on and on about this, about how there's Russian people inside the country, and it just goes to show you that it is all propaganda, because the New York Times kind of sort of retracted what is going on in Ukraine. They sent in reporters into the area of Donetsk and other areas to find out where the Russian people are, all the Russian operatives, and all they saw were the people of Ukraine. They talked to many different people, and they could not put the connection together. They are not there. Just like the NBC crew went up and down the border of Ukraine and Russia, couldn't find the troop buildups. This is all propaganda to make everyone believe that Russia is doing something. And I hate to say this, but Russia, the only thing they did was have Crimea, help them have a referendum and vote, and they had outside countries and monitors come in to observe what was going on there. And everything else has been caused by the United States, the central bankers, and the puppet regime in Kiev. All this killing, all this blood, the burnt bodies, the burnt building, all of this is being created from the bankers, United States government, CIA, FBI, located in Kiev, and the puppet regime. But of course, we see very little of this in the corporate media. Now, Putin just signed into law a national card payment system, and he signed it. It's ready to go. Visa, MasterCard have announced they are very concerned about this. They're going to lose a lot of money from this new payment system. And according to the auditors, Golden Crown is 80% ready to run the payment process, although adjustments are needed in areas such as constructing an additional third data center. So we can see they are ready to go. They're moving this forward. And this will completely bypass everything that has to do with the U.S. dollar. All trade in oil, gas purchases, everything will bypass the U.S. dollar. Now, NATO is holding a spring storm drill, which involves Estonia and other countries. This is about 6,000 military men. It's also going to include a cybersecurity team from France. They're going to participate in the military exercise. Britain, France, and the U.S. have been deploying troops to the Baltic region since April 29th, a week ahead of the drills in Estonia. So they are pushing this forward. There's a lot of drills going on, a lot of military men ready to go. And they're building all of this up. And just like we saw in Syria when they had the drills in Jordan, they will leave all military assets all in this area. They will not remove them afterwards. They will leave them there because they will try to start something later on. Now, NATO Deputy Secretary General, Special Representative for the Caucasus and Central Asia region, James, I'm going to try to pronounce his name here, Apathere, said he believed the alliance would discuss whether NATO allies should deploy defensive assets in Georgia, right next to Russia. And it looks like they're trying to provoke Russia. You will see them move in military assets into this region, and this is something we need to put in Georgia, and then Russians will understand that we are serious. And they are provoking, and they are not going to stop. This is not in their nature. They want this war, they need this war, and they will continue doing this. They will not stop. Now, Russia is going to provide Syria with a first batch of jet trainers until the end of the year, and Russia is sending in the Yak-130 jet trainers to Syria, and they will receive these jets, and the rest of the jets will be handed over to them by 2016. So again, we see right now the paid mercenaries in Syria. They're getting anti-aircraft missiles, anti-tank missiles, and they are being trained in Jordan and Qatar, and they are filtering into Syria. And we can see this battle in Syria is going to really pick up. Now, we understand that Syria needs to remove all its chemical weapons. They are having a tough time, and military offensive by Syrian rebels near a site holding chemical arms is halting progress to remove all such weapons from the country. And we've seen this happen many, many times. What is happening is the paid mercenaries and rebels are instructed to try to make Assad look like he's delaying the removal of the chemical weapons, and they're continually doing this. And of course the United States is out there saying, look, he's delaying the removal of the chemical weapons. See what's happening here? But they're being instructed to do this, so it looks like he is. And so the United States central bankers can come out and say, look, they're delaying it. He's not keeping with the agreement. He's actually hiding chemical weapons. Look, he used chemical weapons on his own people. And they're continuing with the propaganda. They're continuing with the false flag information to keep this in the back of your mind that Assad has some type of chemical or biological weapon. And of course they've been coming out. England has been coming out with this. The United States has been coming out with this. And they're trying to convince you and keep this in the back of your head that he has chemical weapons, and there are terrorists coming out of Syria that could be coming back to the United States, and they might have the ability to use these type of weapons. Now, we understand that Syria is having elections coming up June 3rd. And right now, Syria sent out invitations to Russia, China, India, Brazil, and South Africa, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Armenia to come in and watch the election process. They want these groups there to make sure that the election is going smoothly, so no one can say, oh, this was fixed or something happened. Now, the Department of Defense is out there saying that Bitcoins is a possible terrorist threat. A division within the Department of Defense is investigating whether the digital currency, Bitcoin, is a possible terrorist threat. The introduction of virtual currency will likely shape threat finance by increasing the opaqueness, transactional velocity, and overall efficiency of terrorist attacks. Now, we can see why they're doing this. They don't want other people using different currencies. And they can't track this stuff or anything that's going on here, unlike the dollar with all your bank transactions because it's hooked into the Federal Reserve. This is why they're out there telling you that this could be some type of terrorist currency, and any other type of cryptocurrency could be terrorist. And if you're using gold or silver, that also could be some type of terrorist currency because it cannot be tracked. And they want everyone to they want you to believe that everything is bad except the dollar. Now, let's go to the Malaysian Flight 370. Now, what has happened here is now they're looking into a group of 11 terrorists with links to al-Qaeda. How interesting. They are trying to convince us now that terrorists might have something to do with the disappearance of the flight. Now, why do you think they are doing this at this point? And what this goes on to say, it says a group of 11 terrorists with links to al-Qaeda were yesterday being interrogated on whether they were behind the disappearance of the Malaysian airline. An officer with the Counterterrorism Division of Malaysian Special Branch said yesterday the arrest had heightened suspicion that the flight's disappearance may have been an act of terrorism, because now they're going to the second round here of what has been happening with the plane. They want you now to believe that terrorists have it someplace. Why? Why are they doing this? Because they want you to believe that when this plane comes back, appears out of nowhere, doesn't have a radar signature, but they identify it as the Malaysian airplane that disappeared, and it has a radiological signature of a nuclear weapon on board. They want you to understand that it's coming from Syria, it's coming from Russia, it's coming from another place for this false flag event. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.